Welcome to Envisioned Broadcasting Radio, your station for empowerment, music, and talk radio. EB Radio presents Empower Hour with Jaresha. A show that shares the stories behind the journeys of leaders, influencers, and motivators. The Empower Hour with Jaresha begins now.
Pamela Henkel is the founder of the Purpose Center. Pamela is a mindset mentor, author, speaker, minister, and transformation coach. Her weekly podcast, international radio show, and television show are a lifeline that changes lives and inspires people to discover their individual potential through realizing their purpose by design. Pamela is a natural motivator and has shown many how to find their niche and transform their lives. Although success is an uphill battle, Pamela gives the necessary strategies to flourish, cheering you on every step of the way. Pamela shares from her personal experiences, education, and life as a woman in leadership, utilizing decades of knowledge. Taking the approach of, let's have coffee and chat, she will awaken your dreams and purpose by design. Are you ready for Pamela to help guide you? Email us at purposewpamela.office@gmail.com or go to her website at purposewithpamela.com.
Good evening, and welcome to Empower Hour with Jaresha. I am your host, Jaresha Moore-Smith, and I am a best-selling author with over 19 years of combined experience in education, healthcare, business management, finance. I'm the CEO and founder of Empower on Purpose, LLC, where we provide leadership training and personal and professional coaching and consulting services, executive director and certified coach and speaker trainer with the John Maxwell team and owner of Envision Broadcasting radio stations. And if this is your first time tuning in, I'm so happy that you are tuning in to the Empower Hour with Jaresha show. I want you to know that I believe you have the power to be great, have great, and do great. You just have to be willing to unleash your greatness and take action. So on this show, I speak with leaders, motivators, and influencers who want to share their stories and journeys to empower the world for growth and success. And every single week, we take a look at an empowerment quote that we are pondering and how it can empower us for growth and success. So this week, the quote that we are pondering simply says, remember why you started. Now, this quote is so very powerful for everyone. And as a matter of fact, someone right now that's listening needs to hear this. So this quote truly makes me think about an amazing motivational speech that I have heard before. This speech it's actually on YouTube. And it has almost 10 million views on YouTube. So you should definitely hop on YouTube and check it out. It's called Remember Why You Started. It's such an amazing reminder that we all need to hear every single day. It tells us that, yes, you may feel like giving up. You may feel like quitting. But those are the times that we have to remember why we started. Why? You have to remember why you started. Remember why you launched that business. Remember why you started writing that book. Remember why you started that weight loss program. We have to remember why you are doing what you are doing every single day. Remember why you spend countless hours working on your dream and working on the dream that most people have probably told you not to pursue. And also told you, just go ahead and give up. Those are the times that you have to remember why you started. Yes, there's going to be growing pains, but we have to push forward. And you have to keep showing up for your why and showing up for your purpose every single day. You have to be intentional and keep showing up no matter what, because that is why you have a why. That is what having a why and a purpose is all about. When you recognize that your why is so much bigger than you. And it not only does it mean that you're going to be showing up for you, but guess what? You're going to be showing up for someone else as well. You have to realize that it means not just showing up for you, but showing up for someone in the world, because someone in the world is waiting. Someone is counting on you to show up. Someone is watching you and waiting to be inspired. Someone's life is going to be impacted because of your why and because of your purpose. Every day, remember why you started, and let it drive you into the action that you need to take. Let it get you out of bed when you are tired and hurting and feeling discouraged. Let it push you. Let it push you. Let it stretch you outside of that comfort zone that you keep being comfortable in and wanting to stay in, and some of us actually try to run back to. Let it launch you into being your best self and continuing to operate and showing up as the best version of you. Let it cause you to live in your greatness each and every day. Let it keep you working on your dream and vowing to never, never, never give up, no matter how hard it gets. Remember why you started, because you got this. So today, as we continue talking and remembering why we started, I'm so excited to welcome my special guest, who is going to empower you for growth and success this evening, Melanie Mitchell. I'm so excited to have you on the show this evening. How are you this evening?
I'm doing great, thank you, and thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. So you are truly, truly amazing. And I would love it. Of course, I do have your bio here, but I would love if you would just tell us a little bit about Melanie and some of the amazing things that you're doing.
Yeah, so I am a career and a life coach. I was actually a recruiter for over 17 years. I live right outside of Washington, D.C. I built a career, working with both clients as well as candidates, and really, that was truly my profession of, as a recruiter in the recruiting staffing, working with all levels of professionals from, college graduates to C-level executives, and all different types of industries. And in 2016, I left the company I had been with for 8 years. It was a very toxic company, and lots of bad things had been happening, lots of changes. And I went on kind of my own personal career journey in 2017, and ultimately found I was taking a certification course at the time, didn't know where coaching was going to fall into it, and ended up deciding, okay, there are some circumstances with jobs that didn't work out. And, so even people that have all the experience, sometimes, they hit rough patches themselves, and that was me. And so I went through a lot that year, and from a personal and emotional standpoint, and really made me question my abilities, made me question everything. And I, really started my own business. I would never set out to be an entrepreneur. I never set out to own my own business. I did it truly out of necessity, a necessity to, pay my bills and to survive, to be honest. And then ultimately, slowly but surely, I got my confidence back. I remembered, that I am qualified and I had all these experiences that I can lend to my clients, and built my business from there. And in 2018, I had a contract with a firm in D.C. that came to an end, and I asked myself, well, what if I didn't work full-time and I worked on the business full-time, because I was really working full-time on both. Any free time I had was dedicated to my business. And I made the decision to go full-on and pursue, this business full-time in 2018, and have been doing it ever since.
That's awesome. What an amazing journey. I love how you said that, you never really set out to be an entrepreneur. And I feel like there's probably so many people out there that's listening that may even be in that space, where it's just like you said, out of necessity. It's like, okay, so you just never know what path or what journey you may be on. But the fact that you were able to, kind of pivot and then turn it into, a success. So I definitely think that that's amazing, and I wanted to really highlight that. And then also, so of course you did share, about your career and life coaching practice and some of the amazing things that you're doing from that standpoint. You also work with, a range of different clients. So you help clients ranging from your college graduates as well as C-level executives. Could you talk more about how you're, some of the work that you're doing with, those clients and how you're helping them, develop their career?
Yeah. No, definitely. So, everybody from, having been a recruiter and just having had experience, across the board, I couldn't see myself being a coach that was just going to limit myself, even though that's what you're typically advised to, is to find your kind of soul niche and, really focus and grow on that. But I was always a recruiter that, learn new industries, learn new aspects. And I think that's one of the things that made me special as a recruiter, because I had that ability to transition. And so now as a career coach, I work with people on everything from their resumes to getting them prepared for job interviews, and from negotiating salaries, but also helping them conduct the job search. The job search is always changing, regardless if you're, there's different perspectives, of course, but it's still challenging, even if you're a college graduate or a C-level executive. It's just different types of challenges. But I also work on mindset and goals. A lot of what I'm big on mindset, because that's what really, in a lot of ways saved me, was being able to, I knew I had to change something. And one of the big things that I changed was my mindset. And, that's something that now I incorporate into my coaching. And so a lot of what I talk to people about is also about confidence and, what goals, what's their plan, and, really being able to feel like they can conquer it and go out there and be successful.
Absolutely. It's truly important, from just thinking about some of the clients that you work with, from the college graduate to the C-level executives. All of those aspects are very important. And so from the job interviewing and working with them and really helping them feel empowered and prepared for that job interview and the job search, and from the mindset. So I truly, just want to say that I think that is, it's awesome that you, definitely are not just saying, okay, I'm going to be that career and life, coach, but you're looking at several different aspects with them on this journey to meet them wherever they may be in their career, to be able to help really and empower them and coach them, through that journey. Because, at the end of the day, we know that, within the last year, I'm sure that there's been so many clients that you have, been able to really empower and help with the whole workforce really changing as it has been. And I can only see that it's probably going to continue to change. So what would you say that, for that, maybe that college graduate or even that C-level executive, whichever one you really want to speak to, what would be your, if you had to share some kind of nugget or tip as far as helping them to encourage them during this time, what would that be?
Yeah, I think this is this advice, I think, transcends wherever anybody lands, in the kind of the ladder, so to speak. But I've also gone through 2 recessions as a recruiter. And so there is some similarities to that kind of prepared me. But at the end of the day, none of us had gone through a pandemic. So that, this is a whole new territory for everyone. And so that's first and foremost. is that we're all in this boat together. Like nobody had experience from, the Spanish flu in 1812. It's not like we could go to them and say, hey, what's the advice on how you handled things, So that's the first and foremost. But the big thing that I would tell people, because the landscape has changed, the landscape is now changing. Companies are now, we're still in this debate. Do you go back to the office? Is it full-time at home? So there's all these things that are still, fluctuating. And I think the biggest thing that you have to do, regardless of where you're at in the spectrum, is you really need to be flexible. You need to be open. Mm-hmm. And you really need to be open to all different types of opportunities, because part of making a plan, it's good to have goals and it's good to have an action plan, but part of that action plan is you have to openly say, life's going to get in the way and I need to be prepared to pivot and I need to be open to it. And then reassess what those goals are, because life does happen and there's so much happening with the jobs and careers. There's a lot that's going up and down. You can listen to the news at any given day and it's something different. So it's sometimes hard to get a pulse of what's happening. But I think if you're flexible and you're truly open to hearing about new opportunities, it may not have been the opportunity you thought you were going to be in or the place you were going to be in, like, say, 5 years ago, but be open to it because that's going to open up. I will promise you, the people that have had the most success, especially when I was placing people into work situations back in the last, 2 recessions. The last recession in 08-09 was by far, that was a really bad recession. But we were, not maybe placing hundreds of people, but we were still placing people. The reason that we were able to do that is those people were flexible. Those people were open to ideas that maybe didn't fit this box that they thought was where they were going to be. And not to say that you can't get there, but you do have to be open and you do have to be flexible.
Absolutely. And that's a really, really great tip, because as you shared, during this time, we have to be willing to be flexible, even outside of the whole career. When you think of a pandemic and everything that has, really transpired, and even within the workforce, we have to be willing to be flexible. So that's really, really great advice, great tips for those that are really looking at, maybe making some kind of transition or looking at, doing something different within their career, or maybe on that job search, or, looking to perhaps even jump into having a mentor or a coach. So one thing I would love for you to share with us, if you could, because, from a career and life coaching, standpoint, as you work with those clients, what are some of the methods and the techniques that you're utilizing with your clients? And I know you spoke about, how you're really looking at, not just one aspect, but several different aspects. So when you have that conversation, when someone reaches out and is looking for coaching, what is the process that they typically would go through?
Yeah, so for me, the first session always I have with any client is just really to get to understand them. And it's almost like a very informal interview in ways. I want to kind of start from the beginning to get them to be able to tell their story. And depending on the route that we go in, because, obviously we go down lots of different avenues, whether it be just a resume or, say, a LinkedIn profile, or preparing for an interview, is really being able to, the real key is being able to tell their story and understand what is important to them. What are their, what I call career values. And, and we often use the term values and think of truth and honesty and, things along those lines. But in these values, I always talk about, what are your non-negotiables? Is work-life balance more important to you than salary? Like, what are you willing to, these are set in stone. This is what this is what I want. And then what's that category, that middle category? You're willing to negotiate. you're willing to give and take a little bit. And then there's the other icing on the cake, that if you got this stuff, hey, that'd be great, but it's not a necessity. And understanding first and foremost that, and going through a lot of different exercises, career values being one of them, but also really being able to ask yourself and explore, what do you want to do? I think people find themselves in jobs after so many years, and if you're fortunate enough to find something that you really truly love, knock on wood, but a lot of people find themselves stagnant, stuck and unsure of like, well, what can I do? Can I make a transition? Like, where am I going to go? And I saw that a lot with some individuals that I worked with coming from the hospitality industry last year. And, obviously, the pandemic wiped out that industry in a heartbeat. And so you had a lot of people that just didn't know, like, how do I tell my story, and how do I, what skills do I have that are even transferable? And it's a lot of, it is a lot of conversations. And so it's a lot of times it's me just listening listening to my clients and listening to them and giving them constructive feedback, but also giving them a feedback from a third, from an outside party that isn't attached to, say, being a family member where, our family members, of course, want the best for us. They want us to be successful, but it's also scary for them if, one, you're unemployed, or two, you say to them, well, I'm going to make a change. Like, I'm going to make a change. I'm going to go find a new job today. And, that's a little bit scary for everybody. And so, young and old, parents giving advice. I'm a parent myself. And I honestly, I don't. Every so often give some advice, but try not to give too much career advice to my oldest. And he's 26. Ironically, he's never used me as a career coach. So he's successful in his own right, but he just doesn't want to work. He doesn't want mom's help. So, but and my youngest is 18, so she's getting ready to go off to college. But just really, one of the things I think, though, as being a coach, is I really want them to pursue what they want to pursue. And I don't want to put constraints on them, of like, oh, you have to fit this expectation. And I think, growing, I think just there's a lot of pressures on, men and women, of course, in these days and these times. So it's really about just discovering those values, discovering what do they want to do. And honestly, I think half the time it's really getting people to believe in themselves. Now as a recruiter, it was a different perspective because I was hired by clients to find them candidates, and my mom used to tell people, oh, she finds people jobs. Yeah, that was true. But, and I would have candidates that would like, oh, you're going to get me a job. And the truth was, it wasn't my job to get them a job. My job was to find the right qualified candidate for my client. So now I get to be able to kind of share what happens behind the scenes and get to educate people. But most importantly, I can tell them, like, this is how you're coming across. This is how you seem a little defeated right now. And hey, I totally get it. Let me share my story with you. It hasn't been this bed of roses. I have the goal of having $1 million company one day. That's not where I'm at today, but every day I work towards that goal. And so, but I'm also not going to go from, 0 to $1 million overnight either. So there's a lot that goes in that process. So it's really breaking down that process.
Absolutely. And then they have to be willing to trust the process because, as you shared, we know that is how it is. So, it's not something that happens overnight with this whole journey, especially when you're looking to, land that dream career or that dream job. It's not going to happen overnight. And so, of course, I'm sure that there has been, several clients that you've worked with that have had those challenges. And I truly feel like, some of what you mentioned is very helpful for those out there. Maybe they're listening and saying, you know what, I have really been wanting to land my dream job, or want to go into that dream career, and it hasn't happened quite yet. Is there anything else? Because certainly you have definitely shared some amazing things with us so far. Is there anything else that you would say to that person that may be listening tonight?
Yeah, I would tell them not to give up. I would tell them not. I know that sounds cliche. It's so much easier than to, it's so much easier than said, but of course, but truly don't give up. But, the job search process or being unemployed is such a hard process. And you take even the best of the best they take hits on the ego. You take hits on like, oh wow, I missed that opportunity, or I screwed up that interview, and you get frustrated because it's a lonely process, and it's really hard. And, and it's discouraging. Part of my job used to be sales, so I was really used to people telling me no. And so I have a little bit of a thicker skin when it comes to that. But even for myself, in that, I hadn't been in the market, back in 2017, I hadn't been in the market for 8 years. And it was hard, and also, too, I wasn't in a mental state where, my ego could take it. I was already kind of weakened by some poor relationship decisions and poor money decisions. And I kept feeling like, wow, I just keep getting hit after hit. And I was wondering, like, when is this going to break? And, the key was I couldn't break. That was the key. I had to hold on until my opportunity came, and, and take those opportunities one step at a time. And so, I really encourage people, just don't give up. It's easier to give up than it is to stay in the game and keep fighting. But the result is far greater than by staying stagnant.
Absolutely, which I think is a perfect segue into, early in the conversation, I mentioned the empowerment quote for tonight, which is, remember why you started. Could you share with us what this means? And I don't know if there's a story or anything that may be attached to it, but what does this truly mean to you? Remember why you started.
For me, it truly means, well, for me personally, I started this to revive my career, and it's almost, for me, my why, of course, always lies with my kids, and it lies with, I have this like little bit of a competitiveness for me. And I'm going to be honest, there's some people along the way that, I had, some, like I said, some bad relationships. And, for sometimes it's really being able to show people like, yeah, you know what, you didn't break me. And for me, that's like my why, is like, I didn't break. And so anytime that I get frustrated, or I think, oh, this isn't working, or it's not moving fast enough, or, I feel like I'm stuck, or, what it is, I go back to, what? Look at how far you've come. Remember remember where you were in 2017. And, you didn't break then. and you're definitely not going to break now. And so for me, it's in my own little competitiveness to be able to like say, you know what? Hey, you know, I am making moves. I'm doing things. I'm, you know, I can tell you even a year ago, I did not have a goal of, and I shared this with you earlier, you know, one of my goals this year was to be a guest on 12 different podcasts. And last year, I could tell you, I didn't even think about that. Like, that wasn't even on my radar. Like, I don't even, you know, like, but that became a goal for me. And it's a goal that I've already achieved. And and I have a coach myself, and the question was asked, well, then you can get 12 more before the end of the year. And I, you know, jokingly was like, well, can't we just appreciate the 12 right now? Like, let's just appreciate the moment. But, you know, like I said, that wasn't even you know, and now I've already achieved that goal. It's only, you know, it's only April. We're going into May. We're not even at the half point of the year. Yes. And so, you know, that's, you know, again, that's like, I think about, you know, when I started, it was, you know, it was literally a handful of clients, nothing. You know, some of these clients, I will say, in my first year of business are still stuck with me and still, you know, come to me for advice, and I love and adore them, and they've become actually like good friends in some ways. And so, but yeah, I like, you know, I just think back of like where you were, and you know, for me, like I said, I started it out of necessity. I needed money. I'm not gonna lie, I needed cash. And, you know, now, you know, so for me, it's just always going back to, you know, that woman that, you know, back in 4 years ago, and look at where you're at now.
Absolutely. That's so good, because I feel like all of us, you know, so those that are out there listening, you can look at where you were in the past and look at how far you've come. And even if it hasn't, like, you know, sometimes we feel like we have to have these, you know, these big leaps and take these, you know, these big steps. And we don't want to celebrate when we have those small wins and those small successes and all of that. I love how you say, but that truly, remembering why you started, it's all about saying, it didn't break you. You're still standing. And I truly feel like so many of us can really identify with that. At least I know I can. So many of us can identify with that, especially, you know, how we've talked about the pandemic and everything else. And we are still standing. So I definitely think it's all a part of that growth process as well. So when Melanie thinks about, you know, how or what really makes you feel inspired, what makes Melanie feel like, you know, she's being her best self?
You know, I think it's a couple of things. I think in your introduction, you were talking about remembering your why, and, you know, like I'm on a weight loss journey right now. Life, the pandemic, lots of things kind of got in the way of that. And so now have restarted this journey for myself. And, you know, I actually had a workout earlier before our call. And so that was one thing, you know, they always, our coaches always say to us as we're working out, like, remember why you came here, remember? Because, you know, I'm like, oh, this hurts. I'm like, you tell me the burn is supposed to be good, but I don't know about that. I'm like, it's burning. But, you know, and it's so from, you know, just kind of really being, you know, that always pushes me. I always, you know, despite eye rolls or complaining I might do, or uggs and grunts, I do always feel better after that. So that always pushes me. It always, you know, I like to remind myself that, you know, look at how strong your body is, and look at, you know, the things that you're doing. Again, it didn't take a day for me to gain the weight, so it's not going to come off in a day. But also my kids, I'm really, I always say I'm just a really lucky parent to have two amazing human beings that are truly amazing people. And they inspire me to, they're just really, really, they're just more remarkable kids. And I mean, they're not really, they're my babies, but, but they're really remarkable and so far ahead of where I was at 26 and 18 in life. They've gotten it really figured out far more than I ever did. Some days more than I probably have today. And then also my clients, I love hearing when my clients get hired or, even just hearing I just had a client today say, I've been working with for, I guess, about a year or so. And, she had an interview. I was on a family vacation 2 weeks ago, and she had the interview while I was on vacation. She said, that was my best interview yet, and this was a woman that, didn't even just have the self-confidence in herself when we first started working, so even if she doesn't get this job, the fact that she walked away saying that was my best interview. And I think those are the things that, obviously the end goal is the job, of course, but sometimes, like you said, we have to embrace those small things. So, and then, and then probably the big thing too is I have the other thing that inspires me is I have a nonprofit with my best friend, and my daughter's involved in it as well. And, we haven't, called Hearts for Honduras, and we went on a mission trip back in 2015 together, and we actually didn't know each other at the time. Went on this trip, and then we left both looking at each other saying, well, we're coming back. What do we do? And, now 6 years later, we've started a nonprofit. We haven't been able to travel. We're not going to be traveling again this year just for safety precautions. And, but we're trying to do some things to continue to help. We have families that we help sponsor. And, so there's a piece of my, any money I make, percentage always goes towards that. So, and I'm always just inspired by their, not so much their survival, but just their attitude in life. And it always reminds me of the things, my daughter reminds me of this too, is just, be grateful for the little things and not get caught up in the big stuff. So I think they always have helped keep me centered in that way and just truly appreciate life.
Absolutely. I love that. I absolutely love it. Yes. So if you had actually one piece of advice, and I truly feel like you have shared so many amazing nuggets this evening, but if you could just give one piece of advice to the listeners right now on how they can empower their own growth and success journey, what would that be?
I would say the first thing to do is take stock in 6 areas. I'm going to probably jinx myself and not be able to tell you all 6, but take stock in 6 areas, which would be relationships, career, financial, spirituality, life, and hobbies. Maybe it's you can take 5. So I know I think I'm missing one. So I think I said financial, but we'll just say take stock in 5 areas of your life.
Absolutely.
And really kind of evaluate it. There's a classic, it's, called the Wheel of Life, but it's a classic, coaching tool that coaches have used for ages and continue. But, you rate yourself from a scale of 0 to 10 on each aspect, and then plot your points, and you can draw a circle, and that's kind of think of it as a tire. Where is there a flat in your tire right now? Is it your career? Is it your is it your relationships? And you can break relationships down in friendships or, significant others, whatever the case may be. But where do you need to focus on right now? Because sometimes I think we often, we continue to go straight ahead, focus on, like, no, I've got to continue, your career could be perfectly aligned right now for you, and you could be 100% happy, but are you happy in your home life? Is there something out of whack in your home life? Health and wellness. That's the sixth category. I knew I was going to get it. So, but take stock in that and see where, where do I need to really focus, and then start to, give yourself some small goals. I'm not the big, I think it's good to have big goals. I mean, I have big goals. I know what my big goals are, but I also have smaller goals, very achievable goals. From a standpoint. And I think that's important to have, because just having these large, huge goals, it gets so defeating because it takes a lot to get there. And, if you don't see results after, a few weeks, we tend to well, this isn't going to happen. Well, maybe the steps you're having to take is, just, it's like, if you think about walking across the United States, you're not going to do that in a day. You're not going to, it's going to take a while. And, so you don't, you can't just plan, you've got to really think about what your goals are and where you really need to, where you want to focus and what needs focusing in your life. I mean, I think that's is just take stock. And I honestly encourage people to do it every quarter, because we're changing, we're human beings. We're susceptible to change, and the world continues to change, obviously. And, so I think it's important to understand where you're at in that journey.
Absolutely. That's so good. That's so good. Yes. All of it is truly, truly amazing. And really just much needed, as you said, just being able to take a look at, doing that evaluation of our lives in those areas, and then, like you said, set those small goals to be able to move forward. And if you need to get a coach or a mentor, and I definitely, I know we both Melanie and I can probably say that it's always good to have that coach and mentor to help you through that process, because those are those times that we have those goals and we have those areas that maybe if you're looking at where you stand on those different areas, if you have some that are higher or lower, you may want someone to help you through that process. So really, really great tips that you have shared throughout this whole entire evening. So I truly, truly appreciate that. If you could actually tell everyone how they can stay connected with you and support your efforts, and please also mention your nonprofit as well, how we can stay connected and learn more about your nonprofit.
Yes. So you can find me on Facebook. I'm in the process of, my website is actually in the process of being created. I'm a little slow. God bless my website developer who has immense patience. But you can find me on Facebook. It's Career Coaching. It's M. Wexler. I hyphenate her. I go by both Melanie Mitchell Wexler or Melanie Mitchell. So anybody can ask you on any given day, like, what's your last name? And I'm like, I don't know. It's just it depends on this. Just depends on what I tell you. So I've kept the last name Wexler because of my youngest, but Mitchell is my maiden name, so I always have to explain that sometimes. But also on Instagram at MWexler Career Coach, and also on LinkedIn, which you can actually find the hyphenated name Melanie Mitchell Wexler there as well. And then for the new people that are on Clubhouse, you can find me as Melanie Wexler there as well, and doing some great things for that. And then on Facebook, you can find we have a Facebook group called Hearts for Honduras, And we also have an Instagram page as well, so please feel free to check us out. We're going to be rolling out some new initiatives here in the next coming months. We're just waiting on some numbers for some fundraising and things of that nature that we can do while we stay stateside and continue to help. We help a little village in the southern part of that country. It would, what I hope to one day be almost a second home for me, so that I can bring people there and to continue to build up that community. So, but yeah, that's where you can find me.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for sharing your amazing story and journey and sharing some really, really amazing nuggets for us all. Thank you so much. This has been truly, truly amazing.
Well, I truly appreciate it. I really do. It's an honor to that you're giving me the time, and I, to be able to tell my story, and, just hopefully able to just give somebody some encouragement or motivation to keep on going. So,
absolutely. And as you've shared, and we know that right now, and even prior to right now, I think we all just need that empowerment. We need, people such as yourself that is willing to really encourage and help, build that confidence and, truly help those that, are looking to go into or try and make the transition or looking for their dream, job. And so it's going back to what I said originally. We just don't realize how important and how impactful coaches actually are for us until you have that coach. And so I definitely, appreciate you just coming in and sharing all of the amazing information, that you walk through with your own clients, and now that, you're sharing with the world. So truly, truly amazing. Much blessings and success to you and the clients that you're going to be empowering moving forward. So listeners, if you are interested, go ahead, Melanie.
Oh, no, I was just going to say thank you. I do appreciate that. And, I just try to give, and just would encourage people to, invest in themselves. Don't forget to invest in yourself. And that can come in many different ways. But, take time to invest in yourself.
Absolutely. Yes. That is so very important. Yes, amongst all of the amazing information that you've given us and tips and nuggets that you've given us, investing in self is so very, very important. So listeners, if you are interested in starting your own show or being a guest on the show to share your amazing story and journey to equip, encourage, and empower others for growth and success, please visit www.envisionbroadcasting.com to learn more. Please tune in next Wednesday, that is, where you will hear an amazing story and journey from another leader, influencer, and motivator. Until next time, stay safe and be blessed.
Thank you for listening to the Empower Hour with Jaresha, where Jaresha speaks with leaders, influencers, and motivators who share their journey in personal and professional growth, empowerment tips, lessons learned, and keys of success that will empower you to your best self. Follow Jaresha on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Jaresha Moore, and visit www.empoweronpurpose.com. Remember to be intentional and be empowered, and have a great day on purpose.